We've got a really exciting collection of new wines to introduce to you this evening.
The passion for winemaking comes from being able to explore new varieties and explore new things, which is where our Winemakers craft comes from. And so we have 3 brand new Italian varieties that we're really keen for you guys to try out.
The Winemakers craft range of wines was released to give us in the winery a reason to do things a little bit different. Decided we wanted to keep exploring different varietals or different wine regions, different winemaking techniques. Some of them new, some of them really quite old. Let's have a look at why have we gone down the route of Italian varieties. And
history of wine in Australia really started out as fortified.
Fortified wine was the way.
That was everything.
Sherry, ports, Madeira, till the
absolutely.
60s, until people realised, hey, there's a bit more to what we can do. Then there was this big race of, different varieties coming in and different styles of winemaking. There was a big shift in the 50s, grabbed their ticket, came to Australia, brought a suitcase with them. Some of them brought clothes. And some of them were cluey enough to bring grapevine cuttings. With them, they brought vine cuttings and they brought skills or a desire to make wine and to bring that culture of wine being the norm with food into Australia. And that's where this whole range, the single suitcase range of wines, it's what it's all about.
That's where it's stemming from, without a doubt. This ability to grow upon this enriched culture that's been growing and growing since the 50s. We have been lucky enough in Australia to have a climate that can grow all of these beautiful varietals.
4 Italian grape varieties in front of us, 3 brand spanking new ones, and 1 that you may have already seen in the last 12 months.
Well, we're going to start with the Aglianico with this one.
Aglianico?
Absolutely not the Aglianico. Now,
for good measure, Sam is fantastic at pronouncing these grape varieties. It's not Aglianico, it's
Aglianico.
Okay, good.
So it's a silent G.
It's a silent G. That's exactly right. It's a something along those lines. So look, let's start. The really good thing is if you forget the order of these 3 grape varieties for tasting, is just remember your ABSs.
Yeah, it's alphabetical order.
It's in alphabetical order. So we're going to start with the A.
Really nice and easy for us.
Mother Nature really helped there. So A, we have Aglianico. Now this grape variety, I'll be honest, this is the first time we've played with this, and it's
awesome.
tasty.
I'm stoked with these varieties, all 3 of them. This Aglianico, it came in, just finished Malo. It was looking a little bit tart, a bit acidic, and we put it to timber. We put it into old French and American oak. Italian's only 10 months. We aren't trying to get that oak flavor. We're just trying to get the texture into the wine and really make it fill out its body and become what we know it can be. And so with that time, this Aglianico developed from this very tart, quite dry red wine, this beautiful purple flowers, amazing aromatics, Italian varietal. That is what we expected it to be.
As a whole, I guess just a bit of context of these varieties is we're trying to achieve fruit-driven, more easy drinking, food-orientated varietals. And I don't know if you've been to Italy, it's all about eating and drinking and just enjoying yourself. And varietals or styles of wines that are, to use a term that we've sort of brought up on one of our videos recently, is they're smashable. They're easy to drink. They're not overcomplicated. You don't have to get too in depth about it. You just want to enjoy it. And it's the same with the food, right? It's simplistic, but tasty. And the wines are the same. And what Sam's getting at with that oak regime is if you look at the traditional styles of wines that we've been making for a long time, it's not that they're complicated. There's just more going on.
Yeah.
18 months, 24 months in timber, those sorts of things, more intense ferment programs. They're just more, if that makes sense. They're bigger, they're chunkier, they're more chewy. Whereas with these wines, they're lighter and brighter, and you see it in the color as well. I'm not sure if the camera, wants to focus.
Oh,
here we go. Look at that. A bit hard to tell, but they're brighter in color. So you're seeing more of those purple, and red spectrums rather than the deep and dark and plummy characters that you might see in the colors of our other styles.
Absolutely. Yeah, these Italian varietals really, there's a term in the wine industry where we say a wine is made or a wine can make itself. And these wines really made themselves. They really came a long way without us having to intervene a whole lot, which is really exciting. That's what you want to see in amazing fruit.
These styles of wines are a great example of let the vineyard or let the variety talk. So Aglianico, really fruit driven, really bright, heaps of this cherry, a bit of plummy, and it's not blackcurrant spectrum. It's not
at all.
That side, it's vibrant.
Yeah, without a doubt. For me, I really see these beautiful red, light red fruit characters. I think fresh forest berries. You're seeing raspberry, strawberry, your classic red varietals. But then you also see that leaning to the purple spectrum, that nice ripe plum, a little bit of chocolate on the back end of it. It's really just a fresh, light, smashable wine.
Which leads to cellaring for this style of wine. It's not a huge cellaring potential style of wine. You probably want to hook into this in the first, 3, 4, 5 years.
Absolutely.
Something to that. It's got nice fresh acidity. It doesn't have that big chewy tannin.
Yeah, you don't need to wait around for this wine to develop. It's already there. What would you eat with this wine? I know what I would have. For me, it really screams barbecue wine. It screams like char-grilled lamb chops on the barbecue.
I would suggest that this is perfectly matched to whatever Deb's put in front of us, which in this instance happens to be bruschetta.
Oh,
that's quite handy. In all honesty, this sort of dish does match really well.
Thank you.
Because what you've got in something so simplistic is, fresh Roma tomatoes that are quite fresh and acidic, very fruit driven, basil, bit of pepper, and panna di cassa to go with it, bread. Look, it's flavoursome, but simple. Shall we go to B?
All right, let's move on to the alphabet. Up next is our Barbera. We're getting the whip from Deb.
It's not Barbara. I know that. It's not Barbara.
It is
absolutely. So I can say the word Barbera.
It is Barbera. But this is probably the simplest one to say of all three of these new varietals. Now, this is from the north end of Italy, so a little bit further away from the equator. It's a bit cooler, and with that, it develops more tannin, it develops a bit more acid. The fruit flavors you'll see tend to lean into more of that blackcurrant spectrum. So,
when we first looked at this wine as a group of three, it was my least favorite. But as the wine developed in timber and
it grew into itself
on that tannin, but as it just sat and chilled out, this wine has become everything that I like about Barbera. And
now, speaking of shed loads of these other fruits, this Barbera, well, not this one in particular, but Barbera has been in Australia for yonks.
Quite a while, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since the 60s,
hey? 60s.
Building up the ranks, and I don't mean ranks as in quality, I mean ranks as in building in body. We've gone from the lighter style with the Aglianico to Barbera, which is, they're still medium bodied, but it's like medium and a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe half a point up, something like that, a couple of steps. More black currants, a bit of plums.
Absolutely.
Some nice spice.
Again, gorgeous color in this wine, really showing off that nice deep ruby red.
Cherries.
You're sitting around your table for Christmas and you got the big bowl of cherries, and the ones at the bottom are really nice and warm and sweet. That's what this is, a really sweet, very ripe cherry.
How long are we keeping it? Look, I'm going to vote same period as the previous one.
Same period of time. I wouldn't leave it longer than 5 years.
What are we eating with this?
More food.
Yep.
What are we eating with it? Look, you're going to start working your way up again, the intensity. So things like risotto or pasta. Absolutely. You're going from the fresh sort of food to maybe something a bit more pizza-y,
a bit more substantial, a bit cheesy. Something with a richer, thicker tomato sauce. A barbie will do too. Look, if you get your get your big ribeye, your big Viking cut steak, chuck it on a barbie, fry it up like that. Amazing.
Charcuterie boards, those sorts of things.
Oh, yeah, so salamis. Yep.
Grab some of those heavier style salamis. So after B, we have, S.
Yeah.
We'll skip a few letters
and fast forward a bit.
Go to
our S. Now, Brett, do you want to give us a crack at this one?
Yeah, look, Sagrantino. It's not that hard.
Sagrantino. Yep, that's exactly right. Sagrantino, again, quite a young variety to the to Australia, much like the Aglianico. Both came around in the late 90s. Sagrantino, or if you want to say it really nicely, Sagrantino.
Yeah.
You got to roll your R's.
I'm terrible
It's,
at those things. This is the biggest, gruntiest wine of the three.
Absolutely.
It's not the biggest and gruntiest wine that we make.
The Sagrantino, however, is very much the biggest of our three new Italians. It is one of the rarest grape varieties in the world. You only see about 2,500 acres of this throughout the world. And in Australia, we would be, it's a really, really rare variety. For those of you that don't know how big that is, Shiraz in the world, there's about 500,000 acres. And there's only 2,500.
Probably half of that's like in the Riverland.
Exactly right. So we were very lucky to get our hands on this fruit and make such an amazing wine out of it. The chances of getting that are very low, and we're really, really happy with this. This wine, for me, again, we're really leaning into that dark fruit spectrum, but
it's chewy.
It's chewy. It's got that tan. It's got that structure to it. It's a really big and bold wine by the standards of the others. It will, without a doubt, more so than the others, reward you for aging.
Now, with the maturation of these three wines, having been the first time that we've played with these, we wanted to give equal love across the board. So we had a selection of French oak in both smaller barrels and bigger oak, and both American oak as well. And we pretty much smattered that evenly by literage across these three wines. The interesting thing is this Sagrantino, you start to see that more cedary character coming out. It's not necessarily because of the timber, because we did the same thing. But the wine has that.
There's that variety. It's got that.
It's not sappy.
It's not sappy, but it's
got a little bit of chew and a little bit of sort of cigar box character going on that the tannin from the grape variety has certainly brought along with it. So look, this is definitely the more food wine, e.g. you should have food with this, whereas you can have food with those, if that makes sense. But hey, they're Italian, so you need to have food with all of them. But you're moving to the bigger spectrum. We're now going, this is meat town, right?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I see big beef steaks, really red meat sort of wine, and then in that same sort of spectrum, ragus, polentas, that really thick, rich tomato sauce.
Ragu, it's about a good and flavoursome, enjoyable meal that you can share with your family and friends, because this is what these wines are all about.
That's what they're made for, without a doubt, as all of our wines for sharing with friends and family. And that's what we want you to do. Share this with your friends and your family over a big meal. Just enjoy yourselves, enjoy company, and enjoy the wine.
Cellaring,
a little
bit longer.
We are experimenting with this.
Look, it's got a bit more muscle, a bit more tannin structure. It is a richer style, so you can keep this. Well, in theory, you can keep this wine
probably for a bit longer.
Maybe
I reckon
5 to 7 years.
Yeah, I feel like this would go well, like a good Syrah, around 8 years at the absolute max would be quite good.
Yeah, it's not a 20-year wine. None of these wines are 20-year wines.
Drink it before 2030.
We've got the one in the odd glass.
Yes.
That's just only because so we know which one is which. This is the Monty.
Yep. Now, I haven't had this one in a while because we had to hide it away. I wasn't allowed to touch it because we wanted to bring it out with these special Italian wines. We wanted to show you all of them at the same time. So this is the first time I tried this wine in a little while.
It has been a little while. It's been a while since I've tried this. It's good. The Montepulciano was, so important thing, if you're not quite aware, is there's the grape variety Montepulciano, and then there's the place Montepulciano.
And what do they grow in Montepulciano?
The place,
yes,
will mainly Sangiovese.
Exactly, not the right thing. Now, this is from close to central Italy, a little bit further, and also, again, slightly cooler climate than you would see in our Aglianico.
Where Franco's family's from.
Where Franco's family's from, there you go.
Abruzzo, I believe.
Abruzzo,
Did I butcher that one?
No, you did pretty well.
The Montepulciano was from McLaren Vale. But the other three
are all from the Adelaide Hills.
Correct. So the vineyards for those three wines are all in the Adelaide Hills in South Australia.
And we picked those three vineyards there because The Adelaide Hills is actually quite a volcanic region. Obviously, there's no volcanoes that are active in Australia, but once upon a time, a hotspot went under Australia and made these big granite ridges. And with that, we have higher altitude in the vineyard. We have really nicely draining soil and very high nutrient content in our soil, which gives us this beautiful, beautiful wine across the board. So we're really lucky to get our hands on these.
Other interesting thing, if you didn't know it, did you know the Adelaide Hills is one of the biggest growing regions by area in South Australia?
Really?
Yeah, bigger
Yeah,
than
right.
Barossa.
How big is Langhorne? Small, tiny?
It's actually really quite small. By plantings and tonnages coming out of the Adelaide Hills, it's not that big, but by geographical area, it's really quite diverse.
Absolutely.
And the region of the Adelaide Hills has very steep and very cool areas, but it also has some quite low-lying and warm areas as well. It's quite diverse. It's the
Montepulciano. So you wouldn't have even seen this variety in Australia until the last 15 years, I don't know. So the Montepulciano, it's a variety that's only really come into Australia in the late 2000s.
There hasn't been much going on for the last sort of 10 until the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, for the first few years, we had plantings that were maybe an acre here or there scattered throughout South Australia and Canberra and Victoria.
The Riverland.
Well, it took a little while to get to the Riverlands because it likes the cold. And so until about 5-7 years ago, it just took off. And then bang, all of a sudden, everyone's trying to grow Montepulciano because we are loving it. As far as I'm aware, this is one of the biggest selling Italian varieties in Australia. So it must be doing something.
The good thing about Monty is it's quite versatile. And look, in the Australian wine scene, let's use the bottle shop scenario as where most of the action is. That's where most consumers are going to buy a bottle of wine. There's not much of these, or Barbera, there's quite a few of these days.
Yeah, absolutely. You're seeing more and more.
You'd be hard pressed to go into your local bottle shop and get an Alianico or a bottle of Sagrantino. But Monty has started to sort of take off really fast in the last couple of years. And there's a reason for that. It's really versatile. These three wines have their different characters. Monty, from what we've seen so far in Australia, is it can go from here all the way to here. Now, that's not to say that these varieties can't do that, but these are sort of newer in what we're seeing in Australia.
They're much more experimental compared to the Monty.
Correct. So look, this is a quite full-bodied style of wine compared to what we see in here. Body-wise, it sort of fits in the middle.
Yep, absolutely. So again, we're really sticking with that alphabetical order: Alianico, Barbera, Montepulciano, Sagrantino.
It's starting to take that. Yeah, you did like this.
It's drinking beautifully.
It's drinking beautifully.
Yes. As Brett has said before, it's a very smashable wine.
This one's starting to take on a little bit more of those savoury secondary characters, because we've got 2019, and then we've got these ones a little bit younger, so more fruit forward. Pretty good.
Even then, it's still really showing this beautiful acid line that makes your mouth water. It's a very Moorish wine.
It's good. It's pretty tasty. I'm happy.
I'm a really big fan of that.
You've got the wines. You probably need the food to go with it.
The recipe book.
Really so good. We've matched each of those wines.
Yes, we have. We've matched each of these wines with a recipe in this book. And so what we really want to see is not only you guys loving and enjoying these foods, we want to see your attempts, your amazing examples of making these food and drinking this wine with them, because we want there to be a community with our Italian wines. We want to share with you. We want you to love them just as much as we do. Now, there are some amazing recipes in here. The other day, Deb, Wendy, Frank, Letty, Joe were all up here, cooked some beautiful dishes. There's amazing things in here.
So look, the background of this at the end of the day is the Laureti family and every other Italian person in the world love to eat and drink, and it's all about enjoying wine and food. And we want to share with you and your family and your friends some of these family secrets, a couple of little recipes. Look, there's Frank's
the mushroom risotto to die for. A creamy mushroom risotto goes a long way with me.
Franco's spaghetti vongole in here. Yep. For those of you who order, you will get a hard copy of the recipe book. It has...
Now, we already said that Sagrantino would go amazing with ragu, and trust me, it does. We had this ragu polenta the other day. It was to die for.
So we actually have recipes that we filmed as well.
Oh, we did too. Yes, we filmed.
Didn't you film these recipes?
Yeah, we filmed Wendy and Letty cooking all of these recipes. So even if you struggle, you can still go and check those out.
But I haven't loaded them up yet.
Okay, Deb's almost there. But
that's a tomorrow.
they were beautiful. They're funny.
Friday
They're good
job.
to watch.
They'll be up by next Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, they did an amazing job with it. So if you guys just follow their step by step in the videos, you'll have a good time with it as well.
But what I want to throw out there is if you have a different food match that you think works really well with these wines,
we want to hear what you make.
We want to hear, because
absolutely
we love eating
and if
food.
you're
How do they get the wine?
all right, so right off the bat, we have set up a 12-pack for you guys. So we have 3 of each of these wines: 3 Agleys, 3 Barbs, 3 Sags, and 3 Montes. Yeah, so for that 12-pack, you are getting 10 bottles, and well, you're getting 12 bottles, and we're only going to charge you for 10 of them. So that's the big deal that we have going on. You get to try all 4 of these beautiful Italian varietals, and you have enough of them that you can drink one, cellar it, and see how it's going to go. We also have do we have a 6-pack as well? We do. Yeah, we have a 6-pack of 2 of each of the new ones. So 2 Agleys, Barbs, and Sagrantinos.
Look, just so you know, the Monty, what Sam was talking about earlier is true. We've held some of this wine back. This was probably one of the most popular run out the door wines in the last 12 months that we've produced. And we sort of had to grab some by the back of the coattails and go, whoa, 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 whoa. Please don't take it all too quickly, because we want to show you where these wines are going in line with what we're doing next. So we do have a small amount of stock of this. It's certainly not a large production. And look, we only made, it was about 200 to 300 cases across the board of all of these wines. They're small. But the Monty,
That's it.
we only have about 25 cases of this left.
Okay, we also have a food and wine experience at the winery.
We do, yes, absolutely.
Starting this Sunday.
Yes, starting this Sunday. Explore Italian varieties lunch. So you're getting to try.
Come and eat the food and drink the wine.
You get to try all of our Italian varietals. You get a set 2-course lunch, which is going to be beautiful, and you get a lovely sweet dessert that Jono is going to whip up at the end as well. What do we call it? The dolce, I think, is what we call that. And that's going to be beautiful. That is $65 per person. Is that right, Deb? There's a discount code for Italians. Is that for the lunch?
If they click the link that I've put in the comments, they can get 20% off that food and wine experience. October and November.
Okay. So if you book now, throughout October and November, you have to click on the link.
We would love to show you these wines, and if we can't fit you into our masterclass or our lunch, then look, at the end of the day, you're more than welcome to pop into the winery and we can show you how they've been made. We can give you a wander through the winery.
Click the links to book, click the links to order.
Ready? Go.
Mate, been a member for a long time, and your blend is an absolute gem. 2014.
As in the bluegrass blend?
Oh, they're just the blend, yeah. Mate, 2014, what a year. Anyway, if I
hot tip on that,
what are the chances?
If I was going to start moving towards your new varietals, where do you think a blend like a Shiraz Cabernet or something like that would fit with what you're offering us up tonight?
Here.
Absolutely.
You think Monticello, or
if you're looking for something that's like our bluegrass to blend, our Cab Shiraz, our Shiraz Cab, you are very much a man that's after that big, bold, more tannic style.
You've got bluegrass, and then the Alessandro reserve wines are like bluegrass on steroids, right?
It's Alessandro. That's
correct.
That's
to answer your question, the blend, the bluegrass Cabernet Shiraz that we've been making for a while, which is stylistically in here-ish, because these are our bigger, bolder wines.
Absolutely.
But keep in mind that the bluegrass wines are all American oak. They've been in timber for about 18 months. They're all from Langhorne Creek. So, you know, you here or maybe even here. These are softer.
Go for. I think the Sagratino would be the wine that you are indeed looking at the most. I think that is probably
Sagrettino.
leaning into the tannin style, the bigger body that the Cab Shiraz had. So I think my pick for that would be the Sagrettino.
It's that cedary tannin line that you were talking about before in the
and those
Sagrettino.
dark black currant fruits that you see in it.
Yeah, the Aglianico is more cherries, etc.
Lighter fruits.
Alternatively, if you like your wine a bit more mid palate, so look, for the sake of a little bit of wine education, palate is this bit forward, hair, mid, there,
So
and back palate
Go
all the way
on.
down there in the darkness. So the bluegrass styles of wines are mid palate town, lots of chewiness. Alternatively, the Monty, because it's a little bit older and it
has started to develop that.
It started to take on
palate
those
as well.
secondary characters.
Absolutely.
So while it doesn't show the fresh cut cedar, it's more that cigar boxy because it's dry.
Yeah, you are getting into that almost sweet tobacco leaf spectrum, this really big brown spice character that you see sitting around the sides, mid and back of your palate. And I think we're really starting to see that show off in the Monty, just like it is in the bluegrass as well. So Sagrettino, if you want that big full-on front palate, and Montepulciano if you want that more developed style of your aged bluegrass that you're drinking like that 2014.
That sounds like Sagrettino I'm going to try.
Are we planning to do whites? Penelope, that's a brilliant question. The answer in my heart is yes. Yeah, fingers crossed, assuming touch wood, it doesn't pelt down with rain for the next 6 months. We might see some. Fiano, definitely on the cards. I've been trying to push Brett on a weird grape variety that starts with the letter G for a little while now, called Garganega.
What other red varieties are you going to experiment with?
I've got something in the pipeline at the moment.
Any plans for Sangiovese?
Sangiovese?
Yeah.
Sangiovese.
Now, that's an interesting question because I have been asking to get my hands on Sangiovese since the day I got here.
Where is it then? Come on, Sam.
If people like Aglianico, Sangiovese.
Yeah, absolutely. If you like Sangi, the Aglianico is the way to go. Now, Sangiovese goes into a blend with Cabernet, Merlot, and Shiraz to make what we call a super Tuscan. And we have Cab, Shiraz, and Merlot on the vineyard. If I can get my hands on Sangiovese, I'm going to be over the moon because then I can start making the super Tuscan, very traditional, cross new world Italian style of wine, which I think is going to be amazing. But the issue is trying to find it.
No, look, we're open to all those sorts of things. We're definitely on the exploration hunt. The hardest bit,
Pecorino,
and this is definitely from a winemaking side of things, the hardest bit is actually getting the fruit. Because in this side of things, if we're talking 200 cases, we're, from a fruit perspective, only talking 3 or 4 ton. Getting your hands on that is really hard, especially with these popular grape varieties, because everyone else wants them as well. So they have the ability to stitch up the whole vineyard and go, look, we'll take all your 10 tons or all your 20 tons, which still in the whole scheme of things is quite small. But for us, in an exploratory side of things, is quite a lot.
Risk that whole 10 tons. Can we?
Yeah, look, from a production point of view, Sadler's Creek's 120 to 150 tons total.
Now, keeping that in mind, 500 tons is considered the upper side of a small winery.
Boutique, 350 tons.
Yes, boutique is 350 tons, and we do about 150. Penelope, Pecorino, for sure. I'm concerned to see if you're just Googling Italian grape varieties now, because no one knows about Pecorino, because that should be a cheese.
There is a...
We had a bottle of Pecorino just the other day.
There's a couple of Hunter Valley growers already growing Pecorino, and there is a couple
in the river
to go in the... No, I was going to say to go in the ground the next 12 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is.
Very cool. If you guys would like to get your hands on some of this wine before anyone else does, don't forget, you guys are the first people to be able to actually find out that this exists. We have our 12 packs where you're getting...
Which you only have to pay for 10.
You're only paying for 10, you're getting 2 bottles, and Deb's already put that link in the chat. We also have the 6-pack as well, which is 2 bottles of each of these new ones.
So thank you very much for exploring what we do. We appreciate it. The Winemakers Craft Wines, at the end of the day, as much as it's about us, it's about you guys. And some food along the way.
Buon appetito and salute.
Salute.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.